Hey everybody, James from OnType here, and today we're talking about what makes the 16 personality types angry. So in this video, I'll just go over anything that would really piss off any of the 16 types. So first we have INFJs. One of the main ways you can upset an INFJ is by ignoring what they think. INFJs have introverted thinking child, and they really want to be listened to. They want to be heard, they want to be believed, and by ignoring them or not believing them, you would really upset them. Another thing that would make an INFJ angry is if you don't pay attention to them. INFJs have extroverted sensing as their aspirational function, and they're really trying to give people good experiences, and if you ignore them and you show them that you're not having a good experience, this would make them very upset at themselves. Also, if you go out of your way to not want them, not choose them, you would trigger their extroverted intuition nemesis, which would make them feel very unwanted and unchosen by everyone and would lead them to anger. Finally, one thing that you should never do with an INFJ is tell them what they should do. INFJs have introverted sensing demon, and they can be very hateful with their own obligations and their own things they need to do, and by telling them they need to do something or they can't do this, they have to do this, you would end up triggering their SI demon, which would definitely cause them to be very angry. Next we have ENFJs. One of the main ways that you would make an ENFJ angry is by betraying them or abandoning them. ENFJs have extroverted sensing child, and because of this, they really want others to stick around for them. They're very innocent about those experiences they give people, and they really just want others to have a good time. And if others betray them or show that they don't have a loyalty to them, it would make the ENFJ very upset. Also, if you end up not believing in an ENFJ and you think that they're stupid, you would end up hurting their feelings because they have introverted thinking aspirational, and they're really trying to be correct, they're really trying to be intelligent, and if you end up invalidating their intelligence and validating what they think, you would make them very angry. Also, if you question their worth, you question their sanity and their feelings about themselves, it would cause them to feel very bad about themselves, and this would make them very upset as well. Finally, one thing that you should never do with an ENFJ is go out of your way to embarrass or disrespect them. ENFJs have extroverted thinking demon, and they can be very hateful with their reputation and their status, and if you go out of your way to ruin that, it will end up pissing them off. Next, we have INFPs. One of the main ways to upset an INFP is by giving them a bad experience. INFPs have introverted sensing child, and they're very innocent about what they go through and what they remember and what they're comfortable with, and if you end up pushing them too far or making them very uncomfortable and feel unsafe, it would definitely make them upset at you. Also, if you go out of your way to disrespect them or embarrass them, make them feel like they have a bad reputation, this would cause them to be very angry at you because of their extroverted thinking aspirational. They're trying so hard to be thought highly of by other people and be accepted that if you go out of your way to disrespect who they are and think poorly of them, they'd be very angry. INFPs can also be made very angry if you make them feel guilty. If you go out of your way to say, I don't value you, you've hurt me, it would definitely affect them because they want to make other people happy with their extroverted feeling nemesis. If you end up being too ungrateful or unhappy around an INFP, they'll start to think that you don't like them, and that would cause them to be very distressed. Finally, one thing you should never do with an INFP is go out of your way to ignore them or shush them, or make sure that they have no voice. This would make them very upset and their TI demon would definitely start to come out. Next, we have ENFPs. One thing that you should never do with an ENFP is disrespect their knowledge, disrespect their beliefs, and what they have conviction about. ENFPs have extroverted thinking child, and they're very innocent about who they believe and what they believe, and if you ignore them and you tell them that they don't know anything and they have no knowledge on the subject, that would upset them quite a bit. Also, if you end up pushing them too far, you make them feel unsafe or uncomfortable with their introverted sensing aspirational, that would also upset them a lot because they would feel like you don't care about their experience. ENFPs can also be made angry if you take away their options, take away their choices in their future, and they feel trapped with their introverted intuition nemesis. This would make them feel like they have nowhere to go, no options, and this would cause them to be very angry. Finally, one thing that you shouldn't do with an ENFP is go out of your way to disbelieve and distrust them. Their extroverted sensing demon would be very upset if you didn't have any faith in them, and they would be very angry. Next, we have INTJs. One of the main ways that you can make an INTJ upset is by ignoring their feelings. INTJs have introverted feeling child, and they're very innocent with their own worth, and if you invalidate how good they are at something or tell them that they're bad, it would upset them quite a bit. On top of that, if you're to ignore their skills, ignore their contributions, it would make them feel very bad because they have that extroverted sensing aspirational, which is trying to give you a good experience. And by ignoring them or telling them that they're not good at their skills, it would make them very upset. INTJs can also be very upset if they feel like other people are making bad decisions. If they think that other people are deciding things that go against their decisions with their extroverted intuition nemesis, it would make them very angry. And on top of that, one thing you should never do with an INTJ is force them to do things, force them to watch things or experience things. INTJs want freedom of choice, and if you end up forcing them or obligating them, they're just not going to do it. Next, we have ENTJs. One of the main ways that you could upset an ENTJ is by not being consistent for them. ENTJs have extroverted sensing child, and they're very innocent with what other people do, so if other people are inconsistent or not there for them, it'll make an ENTJ feel very alone and angry. Also, if you invalidate their worth, invalidate their principles, this would make an ENTJ very upset because they have introverted feeling aspirational. They're trying so hard to be a good person that if you invalidate all of their efforts and say they're a bad person, it would make them very angry. ENTJs may also be upset if they feel like other people aren't listening to them or hearing them out. They have introverted thinking nemesis, and they really want to be heard and listened to by others. Finally, one thing you should never do with an ENTJ is make it all about yourself. Talk only about how you feel. It would end up upsetting their extroverted feeling demon. Next, we have INTPs. One of the main ways that you could upset an INTP is by disregarding their own experience. INTPs have introverted sensing in the child slot, and they're very innocent with the experiences they have, and by upsetting or intentionally hurting their experience, you would cause a lot of trauma. Another thing you don't want to do is undervalue or underappreciate them. INTPs have extroverted feeling aspirational, and they're really trying to be liked and accepted by others, and if you don't accept them, you don't like them, and you go out of your way to tell them that you don't feel good about them, it would really upset them. INTPs have extroverted thinking nemesis, and they also don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be disrespected. So if you end up making fun of them too much or embarrassing them, it would definitely make them angry. And another thing you shouldn't do with an INTP is make it all about how they feel. Asking them how they feel, demanding them to act morally will definitely upset them, and they'll end up hating you. Next, we have ENTPs. One of the main ways that you could upset an ENTP is to invalidate how caring or kind they are. ENTPs have extroverted feeling child, and they're very innocent with their empathy and their care for others, and if you tell them that they're not caring, that they're not kind, this would really upset them. Another way you could upset an ENTP is if you're not being very comforting. They have introverted sensing aspirational, and they're trying to be tough, they're trying to be comfortable in their situation, and if you end up pushing them too far or by not giving them good experiences, they're not going to feel comfortable. They may also be very uncomfortable if they feel like they have no choice. They have introverted intuition nemesis, and they want to have a say in what they do, and if you take away their choices and their options, this will make them very upset. Finally, one thing that you shouldn't do with an ENTP is demand them to be performative, demand them to do things in the moment. ENTPs have extroverted sensing demon, and they're very uncomfortable with the present moment and their own performance and skills, and by demanding this kind of show, it would definitely make them angry. Next, we have ISFJs. One of the main ways that you could upset an ISFJ is by ignoring what they think. If you invalidate their intelligence, their TI child will definitely feel ignored, so you have to make sure that you're going out of your way to let them know that they are listened to. ISFJs will also be very angry if they think or feel like they're unwanted, if they're undesired by others. If they think that others are putting other things first and not pursuing them enough, they're going to feel like they're not wanted in a specific area, and that's going to make them very upset. ISFJs will also be angry if they think that other people aren't putting effort in for them, or if they're abandoning them entirely. ISFJs have extroverted sensing nemesis, and they want to know that others are going to be there and stick around for them. And one thing that you definitely shouldn't do with ISFJs is make them think about their own future, force them to decide things, make all of the big decisions. This would upset them as they don't like making really big decisions a lot. They like to have others make decisions and go with theirs. So if you end up forcing them to make choices, it'll definitely make them upset at you. Next, we have ESFJs. one of the main ways that you can make an ESFJ upset is by not wanting them. ESFJs have extroverted intuition child, and they're very innocent about how they're wanted by others. So if you go out of your way to say, I don't choose you, I don't want you, it would definitely hurt their feelings. They would also be very upset if you go out of your way to say that you don't believe what they say. They have introverted thinking, aspirational, and this means that they're trying really hard to tell the truth. So if other people don't believe them, it would definitely make them angry. ESFJs also want to feel like they're being cared for with their introverted feeling nemesis. So if you don't care about them or their feelings, it'll definitely make them angry as well. And finally, one thing you should never do with an ESFJ is be too overly critical. If you tell them what you think too much and end up being very disrespectful, it will hurt their feelings and it will definitely make them angry at you with their extroverted thinking demon. Next, we have ISTJs. One of the main ways that an ISTJ could be angry is if they're made to feel valueless. ISTJs have introverted feeling child, and if you say that they're not worth anything, it would definitely hurt their feelings. On top of that, if you have bad intentions, if you want to hurt their feelings, it'll definitely upset them with their extroverted intuition aspirational, and it will make them very afraid for what you want to do. ISTJs will also be very upset if they think that other people have forgotten about them. They have extroverted sensing nemesis, and they really want others to be positively impacted, and if they think that other people have been negatively impacted and want to forget about them, it would definitely hurt their feelings. Finally, one thing you should never do with an ISTJ is give them too many options. If you give their introverted intuition demon too many options, it will feel overwhelmed and it will be very upset. Next, we have ESTJs. One of the main ways that an ESTJ could be angry is if you don't include them in your plans. ESTJs have their extroverted intuition child, and they really want to be included in other people's plans and their hopes and dreams, and if they're not included, it will make them very upset. ESTJs also want to know that their feelings are being cared for, and if they feel like other people don't care about them or think highly of them, it would make them very angry. If an ESTJ feels like they're being called stupid, they'll be very upset as well with their introverted thinking nemesis. And one thing you definitely shouldn't do with an ESTJ is tell them that you don't value the same things as them, that you don't think their values are good, or that you value something different. This will make their extroverted feeling demon very upset, and they will be angry at you. Next, we have ISFPs. One of the main ways that ISFPs can be upset is if their future is taken away. If you go out of your way to tell an ISFP that they can't do something, or they have no future, it'll upset their introverted intuition child. Also, if you make other people think poorly of them, spread rumors about them, ruin their reputation, it'll make their extroverted thinking aspirational very mad. This can also play in with their extroverted feeling nemesis, which worries about their social skills, worries about their social status. If you affect this social status, it will definitely make them angry. And one thing you don't want to do with an ISFP is completely ignore their side of the story. ISFPs have introverted thinking demon, and they may want to express their thoughts, and they need to be heard. If they're not heard, it'll make an ISFP very angry and have a lot of resentment. Next, we have ESFPs. One of the main ways that ESFPs can become upset is if they think that other people don't respect them. ESFPs have extroverted thinking child, and they really want other people to think highly of them. If they think that other people are disrespecting them or looking down on them, it'll end up making them very angry. ESFPs also really want freedom. Their introverted intuition aspirational really wants to have full freedom to make any choice it wants. So if you end up taking away an ESFP's freedom, it will make them very upset and resentful. ESFPs also have introverted sensing nemesis, and if you make them too uncomfortable or make them feel unsafe, it'll also make them very upset. One thing you should never do with an ESFP is make all the choices for them, decide everything for them. Their extroverted intuition demon is going to be very upset if you're always making choices. Next, we have ISTPs. One of the main ways that an ISTP could be made to be upset is if you tell them that they're not creative. ISTPs have introverted intuition child, and they're very creative and original with it, and if they feel like you don't think that they're very creative, they'd be very upset. ISTPs also have extroverted feeling aspirational, and if you don't think that they're caring, you don't think that they're very merciful, it would also cause them a lot of anger. Also, if you were to embarrass them in any situation, it would make their extroverted thinking nemesis very upset and cause them to be very mad. And on top of everything else, one thing you should never do with an ISTP is demand that they be sympathetic. If you demand too many feelings and emotions out of them, it'll make them very uncomfortable with their introverted feeling demon, and this will cause them to resent you. Next, we have ESTPs. One of the main ways that you can upset an ESTP is by not being grateful for everything they give you. ESTPs like to contribute to others with their extroverted feeling child, and if they feel that you don't appreciate anything they do, they're going to be very upset. Also, if you belittle an ESTP's choices or decisions, it would make them very angry because they're spending so much time trying to make decisions with their introverted intuition aspirational. By pressuring them or forcing them to make a decision, it would make them very angry. Their introverted sensing nemesis wants time and doesn't want to be pressured, and if you force them into things, it would definitely upset them. And one thing you shouldn't do with an ESTP is completely ignore their decision and just go ahead with yours. Their extroverted intuition demon will be very upset by this, and they'll definitely resent it. So I hope this explains a little bit about what makes the 16 personality types angry, and if you guys enjoyed and want to join the On Type team, then you can subscribe down below. Have a great day.